Hello and welcome, I'm Tim and this is SV Paquita. And I know I'm back on the bow of my boat here in Marina. And you guys are like, why are you not walking around? You said you were going to do that. Well, we've had people over all day today. Tradesmen and women. We've got all kinds of stuff. I did a whole bunch of work on the dinghy. And well, let's see. The first thing that started was Anna, the canvas lady came over and she had all this plastic and she put this plastic over. There's going to be one thing that goes over here and then another thing that goes over the boom and comes down that way so that we can, it'll alleviate some of the sun load that happens where the boat heats up like this. And when we're in the tropics, we usually have that center panel out. So when that's out, this thing's gonna go a little further so that when it rains, it won't rain in that way. And obviously you would never have this going underway or anything like that. This is only at anchor, maybe even in a marina. But I say, we're not usually marina people. And I absolutely love this marina. I would stay here if I had the money for it, but we're burning up about $100 a day staying here, which as far as U.S. prices, that's a great deal, but I didn't budget this trip on U.S. prices, so we're gonna have to get out of here. I have somebody coming in on the 21st or the 22nd, either Friday or Saturday, I'm not exactly sure when. It's somebody that you know, but I'm gonna leave it as a surprise for you. So I would like to stay here and receive that person when that happens, but I think tomorrow we're gonna leave. I've paid up my marina bill. Tomorrow morning we'll get underway. And I've got local information. Where I went before, where I anchored up, or I went on one of those moorings, apparently those are all private moorings. So I was just poaching a mooring, which was wrong. And then the people that have backed up to in the other creek, we go out and around there. People that have backed up and, it says in Navali that you can go to the town quay there and tie up there, but apparently that too is not correct. It's all of that it's inaccurate information. So always wanted to do the right thing and feeling terrible that I poached a mooring for 2 or 3 hours, but the last time I want to do the right thing. So my plan is tomorrow morning to go out and go around to Valletta, and we will go into the harbor of Valletta. But before right in the entrance there's a little place called Ritella. I have to remember Nutella. That's how I remembered the name of that. But apparently that is an actual anchorage, and there is, I've found on North Foreign Land that there is dinghy access there. It's a little off the beaten path, but that's fine. You can take a bus into town, and it would be great to go at anchor and kind of be just on our own for a few days. We're pretty well stocked up with everything. But anyway, Anna came over and she did a wonderful job. She was putting all this plastic out and measuring all this, and I felt so bad. Typical Tim, I caused her twice as much work, but no fault of hers, but by mine. See that orange line at the end of the boom? That's my preventer. I have it sticking back there. That's not usually where it is. I usually have it off to the side and I tighten up the boom, and the boom is off just a little bit so it doesn't cast a shadow on the solar panels, and it keeps it, so see how the boom's moving, it's wiggling back and forth, and that's just a little roll of the boat. And so by having it over there, it's tightened up, it doesn't make any noise, and that's great. So she did one whole side, and then I realized, I was like, oh my God, you know that the boom's not in the center. So that's all right, it'll be over there. She goes, no, it'll look funny, put it back. So we put it back, and she had to redo everything. I felt so bad about that. And then the poor thing, even though the boat was only moving like this, as you can see, there's just a little bit of movement here in the marina. I would call it flat calm, but the poor thing with her getting up and measuring this and measuring that, at the end she had to take a break because she was getting really seasick at the dock here. So she's supposed to be a world-renowned seamstress, canvas person, but she's probably used to much bigger, stabler boats, and felt awful. But anyway, she got everything that she needs. She's going to start putting all this together, and hopefully, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, we'll come back and she'll come and bring everything back that, and put the final touches on it. So I'm really excited about that. Then right while she was doing that, the fuel truck came. And there's a truck that comes right there and has a hose, and he brings it all the way down here, and he filled up this guy over there and filled up a guy over here, and then he came over and filled us up, and we topped up with fuel, which is just nice. I has a good feeling about having a full tank of fuel. And this fuel was much, much cheaper. Having it delivered right to the boat, it was 1.2 euros per liter, which if you use, I feel so stupid that I haven't figured this out before, but if you use Google's conversion rate, if you type in, say, how much does 1.2 euros equal in dollars, it'll use the conversion rates for large transactions, not for something that you're going to get out of an ATM. So I think I got about a 1.3 dollars per euro, or like $1.32, I think, with the taxes and fees and everything that I paid at the ATM. So if you figure all that out, that's just under $6 a gallon for fuel, and that seems like a lot, but in Mediterranean standards, that's phenomenal. But a boat over here from Chile, or the boat owners are from Chile, they said that they were just over in Tunisia and paid 0.6 something euros per liter, which is really cheap. Of course, that's getting it out of Tunisia, North Africa. And like I say, we won't be going there. But anyway, it feels good having the tank totally topped off. So we have another almost 1,000 miles of range of motoring if we need to do that. Hopefully we'll be doing more sailing. But then we waited and waited, and finally this guy, Nicky from Nicky's Marine Service, who came highly recommended from the Marina as a rigger, came by. And I didn't really have anything really wrong with the rig, but I just wanted somebody to look it over because things just didn't seem right to me. So this guy came over, and oh my God, he was amazing. I mean, not only was he extremely professional, he had all his stuff with him, and he knew everyone on the dock, and I mean, he knew what he was doing. He climbed on here and just took the matters into his own hand, and he immediately says, "Oh yeah, your boom's broken." I go, "What?" Luckily, it's not the boom. I don't know if you can see this or not, but where the boom vang has a thing that goes in here, this is a stainless steel piece that's riveted into the aluminum boom. And there's a little hairline stress fracture right there that probably happened because I don't use the vang as nearly as much as I should. That probably happened when I had my unintentional jibe 3 or 4 years ago. We were coming back from Puerto Rico, and I bet that's when that cracked. Anyway, the good news is if this were to break off, we'd still sail. We just wouldn't be able to flatten the sail out as well, So it's not like it's a mission critical thing. But like he said, well, now you know that it's there, you should need to get it done. And he says, I can't do that for you, but you get a welder to come and try to grind it right in place and then just tack it right there. And so that, with a TIG welder, because you don't want to have to take it off. You'd have to take everything off. And he says it's probably never going to happen. But he immediately looked over here and said, "Where's your cover?" And I go, "What cover?" And I don't know anything about this. But if you remember, if you've been following along, when we came across from across the Atlantic to the Azores, this PVC piece here used to go all the way down here. This sail tape wasn't here. It came all the way down here. And we were taking the sail in, the wind was behind us, so the sail was wrapped way over here up against the rigging and just cranking away on it, and it pulled that piece of plastic up like that, and then it went and popped through the sail, and that's where we had to go. This thing comes down, you can see where the sail is there, so it's up right now, but it'll be down there. And anyway, it popped through we had to get the panel replaced in the Azores. And although getting the panel replaced was a great experience and a great price and all that, it would have been nice if I didn't do that. What I didn't realize is that apparently this is supposed to go there, and then there's supposed to be a cover that comes all the way down here, all the way. And he goes, "Yeah, just look at all the other boats." And I'm looking, let me see if I can zoom in on our neighbor's boat over here. So yeah, there we go. So, let me move this over a little bit. There we go. Can you see that right below his sail? See, there's a little cover right there. And he says, "Oh yeah, no, they all have them." And he goes, "You're supposed to have that too." So I said, "Well, can you get that?" And he goes, he thinks he can get it from France, which I thought Sparkcraft, because it was from Carolina Spar, or no, was that right? yeah, I think Carolina Spar or something like that. And they got bought out by Sparcraft. And I thought Sparcraft was in the Carolinas as well. But anyway, this guy seems to say that all this stuff comes from France. He says the French don't always get back to him as quickly as you'd want, but he's going to put a call in. And he says in 3 or 4 days, or maybe by the time my friend comes in to the airport, or maybe when I come back to get the sunshade done, he'll have a new piece there. So that was really cool. But he also went around, and one of the things was that this was really loose. It was going clunk, 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 clunk. All of these, can you see that in there? All of these washers had worn out over time. These bolts were not tightened down. There was cotter pins missing. Then the funny thing is, he's looking at the boom vane and he says to me, he goes, "Is there a particular reason why the boom vane's upside down?" I said, "Upside down? I have no idea. I didn't put it on there. That's the way it came." And I would say it came. I think the previous owner had always used a manual boom vane, which is a series of block and tackles between here with no bar in between there. And when I bought the boat, he said, "I have bought this vang. They have yet to install it. Would you like to have me have them install it?" And I said, "Sure, go ahead." So somebody came down and threw this thing on. And I don't know who did that, but anyway, it makes sense that they would want the bigger thing up and the smaller thing down so that the water would run this way. Well, this guy unbolted this thing and proceeded to dump. The whole thing was filled with rainwater. And like he says, it's not just that it's weight and all that, but it's adding to corrosion. And the galvanic action is going to be accelerated if there's a medium like water in there. And I say fresh water, rain and all that, but there's a lot of spray and salt that comes this way too. So anyway, he took all that out. This was all messed up, and he changed all that, put new bushings in there, flipped everything around, redid everything, got everything going for us. And he's walking around and he sees this and he sees that, and he comes up here and he looks at the furlers. He says, "We need a new furling line over here," which I asked him because I had wondered about that furling line for a while. But I said, if the furling line breaks, it's not, I'll be able to still drop the sail. So it's not the end of the world, but it would suck, but I could still do that. And that's this line right here. And what happens is right now it's all rolled, the line is rolled up there. When you pull the sail out, or I should say it's unrolled. When you pull the sail out, it rolls all that line into that spool down there. Then when you want to roll the sail back out, you pull on that line and it winds the sail back up. So he says, "Yeah, you need to replace that." So that's something that, one of those things that you need to do, you don't want to do, but you really need a professional to tell you, "Hey, get off your ass and do it." Then he comes over, he goes, "Oh yeah, and the bolt's coming out over here." "What are you talking about?" I don't know, the guy just looks over and finds this bolt sticking out here. He goes, "Yeah." So he screws that in. Then one of the greatest things that he did for me, just because he made me feel better, you remember I was telling you about my friend Bob and I, one of the Irish lads? He and I spent a whole day, about 10 times putting this. We had to eventually take the boom down, flip it upside down.
Bye, sir.
"Hey, take care. We'll see you tomorrow." That's my Filipino dockhand friend. He's all excited because I made some chicken adobo, Filipino chicken adobo today for the first time. He was all impressed. Anyway, so this thing, it's got this 2 racetracks full of those $100 Torlin balls, and we kept losing them. The only way we could get it onto the track was to flip this upside down so that gravity would hold them there, and we slid it in. And then when we got them all in there, it felt kind of chunky, clunk, 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 clunk. And so my friend Bob, he had the idea. He says, "Tim, let's just take one out." And I was like, "Okay." But you never know. Is that right? They certainly didn't come with any instructions or anything. And you're kind of wondering, I just did all that, spent all this money, $100 for these 100 balls, and we put this on here. Is that how it's supposed to be? Anyway, I asked the guy, he goes, "Oh, no, you always take one out on one side. If you have them all together, it won't work." I was like, "Oh my God, that's right. We did it right." So that made me feel so much better. So anyway, that's what that happened. I cannot speak highly enough about Nikki from Nikki Marine Services. If you guys are in the Med, if any of you are ever going anywhere, you're in the Med and you need some rigging done, says he does, you know what? He's going to come back to do all this. And I have gauges, what are they called? It's a funny name. Just had it on the tip of my tongue. But they're these gauges that you put on the wire and you pull it. and then you look down a chart, it tells you how tight each one of the wires are. And I have a book that tells me what that's supposed to be. So you'd say, well, you have everything, you should do it yourself. It's not that easy. You tighten one, it messes all the other ones up. And unlike a boat that has 4 stays, we've got 14 stays on here. So when he comes back, I might have him tune the rig for us, just to make me feel better, because he did such a good job. He spent an hour, maybe 2 hours here. I don't know, time flew, and he gave us all these parts. He did all this stuff, and I asked him, I said, let me pay you. And obviously we're gonna do, you know, I got to pay him again when he brings that piece and he orders it from France and all that. And he goes, don't worry, we'll take care of that later. Anyway, he charged me 60 euros. 60 euros for coming to my boat right up with hardly any notice. And like I say, the guy is incredible. He gave me a real education. Another thing that he told me, which, like I say, remember, I am no sailor. I've never claimed to be one, all right? He said that when you, he says, when you reef in the sail, don't go into the wind, have the wind come over your starboard bow. I didn't tell him that I usually don't turn the boat at all. I just reef that sucker in there, which is why I've had such problems. But anyway, it makes perfect sense. If the wind is coming from this way, and this is going this way, and this is over here, since the thing is reeled up on this side and not this side, it makes sense that it'll be if the wind is coming this way, the sail will be like that, and it'll go in nice and straight, and so little things like that, amazing. Anyway, charged me 60 euros. I obviously gave him a little bit more for his time, and as a symbol of appreciation, I just couldn't. You remember yesterday I was telling you how I just didn't feel right, and it felt like that waiter really was taking advantage of us, and the taxi cab drivers took advantage of us. So nice to have this guy really give us, guy who really knew his stuff, never made me feel like the idiot that I really am, and he did awesome work and charged an extremely fair price. So really, really cool. So if you guys are in the Malta area, if you're sailing the Med, if you're coming to the Med and you're on a sailboat, you might want to have this guy's number. Apparently he goes he gets, people will put him on a plane and fly him to wherever they are. My friend that's flying in on Friday or Saturday, he's like, oh yeah, I know that route. This is the flight day. It's going to take him an extra day. He's going to stay in Genoa. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what he said. I couldn't believe it. So he goes, oh yeah, and I do work over there. People fly me over there to do this and do that. And he climbs the mast and does all this sort of stuff. So the guy is phenomenal, and I highly recommend him. And if you guys are ever in need, he's the guy. And not talking to you, you know, sometimes you got to hear yourself say something, but talking to you, I do think that the right thing to do is to have him come, when he comes back, have him do a proper, I mean, since I've bought, I don't know when the thing was ever professionally tuned. The rig, that being that I've gone around, a loose gauge, that's what it is. I've gone around with my loose gauge and checked things, and I was more checking, is the port roughly in the same ballpark as the starboard, you know, that one side isn't tighter than the other and the mast looks straight and that sort of stuff. And everything was basically, everything looks right to me. But if he's going to be fair, and he obviously really, really knows his stuff, it makes sense just to, you know, if it cost me 100 euros or whatever, maybe 200, I don't know what it costs, but well, if it costs a little bit extra for him to do and you know what, if he's going to do all that, I don't know, maybe I could ask him to do a complete rig inspection for him. Every time I go up the mast, and every time I've sent Bob up the mast, we've looked for everything from a layman's point of view, that everything's okay up there. But like I say, as much as I say of all the inspections I've done, just look at all the stuff that he found today that was wrong. As he's leaving, he says to me, he goes, why don't you have cotter pins on your backstays? I was like, because we took them off so that we could get in the lift when I was in Connecticut. And when I put them back in, I never put the cotter pins. Yeah, put those in there. We all know what the right thing is. Sometimes we just need somebody that we believe in to tell us to do it so that we do it the right way. Anyway, that's about that. It's getting late. I'm gonna render this video and send it off to you guys. And I think I'll have a good video for you tomorrow, because I'm going to leave here tomorrow and I'm going to get over to this new anchorage I'm really excited about over in the Valletta side. So hopefully we'll see you there. You guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for doing all that YouTube stuff. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It really helps out, and it gives me feelings of self-worth. And for all of you that have hit the super thanks button, thank you guys so much. In fact, when I get done with this video, Chrisalita and I are going to take a walk up, and we've been here doing boat oh, I didn't even tell you about the dinghy. Oh my God. So hang on a second. I did all this work on the dinghy. So remember I told you the thing, I'd forgotten to put the plug in and it filled up with water? And it seemed like my battery was underwater, so I kind of figured that battery was gone. And I think that all that rust was a part of the chain and dissimilar metals between, because the stainless chain is it was a very good deal. It's shiny, but there's some rust on there, so it's stainless, not stain free. Anyway, when I was at the chandlery, I bought a new little 12-volt automatic pump, and I thought it would be like any of the other ones. It would be like, I'd figure $25 or something like that. Anyway, it was like 110 euros. I was like, what? And then I was just like, you know what? I always buy these cheap Chinese ones. They last for about 2 weeks, and then they don't last anymore. So I said, let's just buy a good one anyway. So I did that, and I got the water out of the dinghy, and then I had to, for a long time, I'd had the anchor out because we were anchoring with it. Put the anchor away, got all the garbage out. One of the terminals had rotted off for the starting battery. So all last night I had, when I got the water level down, I tried to see if I could recover the battery and put a little trickle charge on it all night long. And lo and behold, hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, but it seems to be great. And what's really cool is that these new ones, I guess every 2.5 minutes it goes bzzz, and if it doesn't draw a large load because it's just freewheeling in the air, then it shuts itself off. If it does feel that there's resistance and it has a larger load, then it keeps pumping until there's no load anymore. So like every 2.5 minutes it'll go bzzz, like that. And apparently with an average size dinghy or average size battery, it's supposed to last for 6 or 8 weeks or something like that if you were on land, meaning that it wasn't even being run every day. So we're going to try that. Hopefully when it rains, it'll just keep sucking out of the sump there, and everything will be good. Put new ends on the ends there, and I used to have a solar panel over there that was a trickle charger, and that blew away at some point. It wasn't there anymore, so I don't know where the solar panel went. But there is a what do they call it? I think it's a magneto, and there's a charging circuit in the engine, so I'm hoping that will be enough to continue to recharge it, little by little when you're running the engine and that sort of stuff. But the dinghy looks great, and it's all set, and it starts and it runs, and it's all good, and I'm super happy. And that is my little light. Remember I told you about my Mantis light that used to go over there, but then Runa had a disaster, and somehow something got messed up somewhere, and everything got broken, and the light went flying. And there's two little, it's like a little, I don't know if you can see it over there or not, but it fits in there in a certain way, and then there's a clip that goes on this side and a clip that goes on that side. One of those clips disappeared, and Chief Keith, my old engineer on the tugboat, reached out to the company, and they gave him the CAD files, and he printed up a whole bunch for me and shipped them off to Mark Foley, but Mark Foley didn't receive them in time, so they're all at Mark Foley's house. So we'll see. No good deed goes unpunished, right? Anyway, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for doing all that stuff. And special shout out to the patrons who are the lifeblood of the channel. Thank you guys so much. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in that. You guys take care, be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one.